In 48 hours, President Trump granted more access to the press than his predecessor did in 4 long years. Here's part 2 of our exclusive interview.
What do you do, sanctuary states? By definition, or sanctuary cities, they're aiding and abetting in the law breaking. Okay, they're going to get federal funds.
Yeah, we're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them. You know, California is a big
Would you
example.
cut off their money?
I might have to do that. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do. Look, California is a great example of it. If you actually poll the people, they don't want sanctuary cities, but Gavin Newsom does, and these radical left politicians do. And you know, if you asked them why, they couldn't even. I watched Gavin Newsom try to answer that question. He was unable to even answer. He looked like an idiot. He was unable to answer. I asked him one other question. Why is it that you don't want millions of gallons of water a day pouring throughout California? You know, the farmland in California is, they say, the equivalent of Iowa, great land, but it's got no water. And you sit there and it's literally, you can see it burning, it's on flame.
Sure.
All they need is water in that big farmland. And I ask them, why? How is it possible that you're not allowing this water? They divert it out to the Pacific Ocean where it drops into the ocean. And you know what it's like? It's like nothing. To the Pacific Ocean, it's like 2 glasses of water. It's nothing. Millions of gallons of water is diverted way up north in California into the Pacific Ocean. That water, you know, they have the pipes and everything. It's half pipes. You see them all the time, half pipes. People live in those half pipes now. You know, they have homeless living in those half pipes. But this is water that millions of gallons of water a week and a day in some cases, you know, depending on the flow. So much water they wouldn't know what to do with it. Your sprinklers would be filled. They can even, remember when I took criticism because they said you have to manage your forests. The head of a country that lives in forests, a number of them actually, Finland told me this, Austria told me this, head of Austria, head of Finland. And it was beautiful the way they expressed it. They said, we live in a forest. We are a forest nation. That's beautiful, isn't it, to say that? We have trees that are the most magnificent in the world, far more beautiful than what they have in California, and much more flammable. Mm-hmm. He said, we don't have forest fires. We manage our forests.
You can get a degree in forestry.
Well, they'll do cuts, yeah. Can you imagine? But you don't need much. You have to clean the floors of the forest. You know, when they had forests, I go to see some of the sites I watched in California. They use billions of dollars of money. And they do say, you know, I mean, look at what happened. Los Angeles, that's like a nuclear weapon went off, what's happened to Los Angeles. And, you know, that thing went for 4 or 5 days. Nobody was even fighting it because they didn't have any water. Their fire departments aren't funded properly. And the firefighters were brave as hell. They were fighting without water. I mean, they turn on a fire hydrant, there's no water that comes out, and the fires are rushing at them at 30, 40 miles an hour. Those firefighters were brave. What happened to that state is incredible. And then you listen to, I remember when Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom were debating on your show.
Yeah.
And Newsom's talking like, everything's great, everything's great, just great, just great. More people left California this year than ever have left in history before the fire. But look at it, take a look. And you know, the amazing thing, these are wealthy people. Many wealthy people lost their homes. I saw somebody on television, one of the wealthiest people, one of the most powerful people in the country, being interviewed as though he were a vagrant. His shirt was, and you have to know him, he's a mean, horrible human being. He's a tough guy, very tough guy, a horrible person. Yeah. But he's very rich. And
he's rich, but he's a horrible person.
No, he's a horrible human being. I know you have rich people that are very nice, but this guy's a terrible person. So I say, that's so-and-so. I said to Melania, I said, look at it. They were interviewing him as a guy that lost his house. He said, they took my house away. And he's literally in his underwear and his T-shirt. It looked like he just got out of the bedroom. And I say, that's one of the wealthiest guys in the country. Look at this guy. Take a look at him. Somebody will tell you the name maybe after the interview, but you won't even believe it. But he was on television as somebody that, and he was complaining they wouldn't let him go to his house, which was on fire. They wouldn't let him go because, you know, they don't want him to die. No, some of the wealthiest, most powerful people lost their homes. And it looked like our country was helpless. This fire was just raging, and then it would catch to another area, another area, another area. There was nothing. It took a week and a half, and I've never seen anything like it. We look so weak.
Will you give, obviously Americans want to help the other Americans in need, okay?
Yeah.
Fair enough, we do that. We got to help the people in North Carolina. They've been suffering.
Well, you know
We agree.
that's what I want to do. That's why I'm stopping there first.
You're going to stop in
I'm
California?
stopping in North
Should
Carolina
the money be
first.
contingent on them practicing the science of forestry?
Well, I think this. I'm going to put a statement out today, I think, and maybe it's already written. I said, I don't think we should give California anything until they let water flow down into their...
It's from the north to the south.
This is a political thing. I don't know what it is. You know, they talk about the Delta smelt. It's a little tiny fish like this.
I went out...
They say it's an endangered species. Well, how is it endangered? No wonder it's endangered. It's not getting any water. How do you... If you have a fish and you're stopping the water, isn't that going to hurt the fish?
I did a show in 2009 from the San Joaquin Valley, Devin Nunes' district.
Right.
And they wouldn't give thousands of acres of farmland water to protect that.
By the way, you see that now. I
That's
drove
crazy.
up the highway.
The
I was
Delta
with
smelt.
Devin Nunes, another Republican congressman, and I looked at these vast areas of land, and it looked like it was just burning. It was dark. It was dry. And then there'd be a little patch, little tiny patch of green, beautiful green. And I said, why? How come all this land has these little patches? They said, that's all that we're allowed to farm because we have no water. I said, are you having a drought? No. They've turned off the water. They turned off the spigot from up north in order to protect the Delta smelt.
Let me move on to the
And by the way, I don't really believe it's the Delta smelt because nobody could do that. It's not endangered either. They have it in other locations, et cetera, et cetera.
They're doing seemingly everything they can do, like New York is in many ways, to chase people away.
No, but can you imagine today?
It's crazy.
When people, and the press doesn't like, when I talk about the water that they're turning into the Pacific, the press never wants to put it on. The fake news. They don't want to put it on, Sean.
You do realize that you have permanently tattooed into the forehead of legacy media the term fake news. You do realize they spent 9 years, 9 years attacking you from the moment you came down that escalator, and they didn't stop. And here's the interesting part to me, is that all of the attacks, all the weaponization, all the FISA warrants, all the Russia, and we can go on, all the various venues, the J6 committee, which kept out a lot of pertinent
And
information.
how about the J6 committee? I call it the unselect. You know, they say the select.
But they didn't win.
No. What they did was criminal. That's why they got pardoned.
No, I was
They
saying
deleted and destroyed all of the information that they collected.
Why else
over
would they
2
need a
years.
pardon?
And you know why? Because it proved I was right. All of that information was deleted and destroyed. They deleted all of the information having to do with the 10,000 soldiers that I offered to Nancy Pelosi, and she's now on tape admitting it.
I have 4 of the 5 people on tape, and General Milley was the 5th in writing, all saying that you authorized it in the days leading up. The Capitol Police Chief asked for the guard, was begging for the guard. Muriel Bowser, in writing, denied the use of the guard.
And Nancy
That
Pelosi
story
even
was
more strongly denied it.
She said that.
She was responsible
She
for
took
the whole
responsibility.
Thing. She was and she took responsibility for her daughter.
Yeah.
When it was exposed, they found the daughter's tape, a videotape of her mother saying that she was responsible. And you know what? And they tried to lose it. But
Let me move on to the economy.
unselect. Remember this: the unselect committee. These people that were appointed, all Democrats, plus 2 worse than Democrats. That's crying Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, who lost her congressional seat by more than any person in the history of Congress. She lost by a number that nobody has ever lost by. You know why? Because usually when you have a poll and you're down by like 40 or 50 points, you're smart enough to drop out. She should have dropped out. At least she wouldn't have that moniker.
Before I go to the economy and foreign policy, as long as you brought up this topic, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, who got a preemptive pardon. All these people that got pardoned, Anthony Fauci, did he know that NIH money through the EcoHealth Alliance was funding the Wuhan Virology Lab? There seems to be text and messages and emails that went back and forth. You talk about the Unselect Committee, as you call it, the January 6th committee. They had a predetermined outcome. General Milley, all these people, the Biden family members. Joe Biden ran and said he would never do preemptive pardons. It was an issue that came up when you were leaving in your first time.
He thought, he heard that I was going to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was given the option. They said, sir, would you like to pardon everybody, including yourself? I said, I'm not going to pardon anybody. We didn't do anything wrong. And we had people that suffered. They're incredible patriots. We had people that suffered. You had Bannon put in jail. You had Peter Navarro put in jail. You had people that suffered. And far worse than that, they've lost their fortunes. They've lost their whatever, their nest egg, paying it to lawyers. And those people, and people said, and they wouldn't have even taken, most of those people, they wouldn't have even taken a pardon. This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And you know, the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him. I mean, the money went to him.
Should Congress investigate that?
Well, I don't know. It's, you know,
You ordered the DOJ.
I've always been, look, he didn't give himself a pardon. And he didn't give some other people a pardon that needed it. And I heard Schiff went to him and just begged him for a pardon, because Schiff is a crook. Yeah. Schiff is a crooked guy. He's a crooked politician. He made up the story about Russia. Totally made it up. You know, he's a storyteller. And then after he made it up, they found out that there was a tape of the conversation made by, you know, I guess the State Department. I don't know. When you make calls, they make tapes sometimes, not all the time.
He was the one talking to the Russians.
So he, in the meantime, made up the conversation, totally made it up about quid pro quo. There was no quid pro quo, just there was a perfect call. Tim Scott was the first one to come. He read it. He said, "This is a perfect call. What are you doing? You're impeaching a man for a perfect call." It was Schiff, Hillary, the whole group. You know what? They should. Schiff is just a bad, sick guy, and he went to Biden and he demanded a pardon because he thought he did something. He knew he did something.
Benny Thompson won the chairman of that committee.
Benny Thompson destroyed, along with that Unselect Committee, destroyed all of the work that took place over 2 years. You know why? It showed that I was right.
We're back with the 45th and 47th President of the United States right after the break.